What's up, War Report family? Guy Ike Jones here, and today we are talking about the upcoming Junior Day. We are going to discuss a QB competition brewing during the spring and just expectations for some of these 2025 recruits. You are watching the Midweek Report.
Midweek Rapport coming at you guys, brought to you by our friends at the Rage Room. You can visit them in Opelika at 1510 2nd Ave, Opelika, Alabama, or if you're in the Birmingham area, 2616 7th Ave South in downtown Birmingham. The Rage Room, helping you get all that rage out for whatever is stressing you in life. The Rage Room has something for you to break. Please visit them. Let them know that you found them on the War Report. Guys, become a member. Join as a patron. These are like micro sponsorships. If you like the work that we're doing, you can help keep that work going by hitting that join button. $5.99 a month will get you there. We appreciate all our patrons. Let's see if we can get 10 of you guys to sign up tonight. That would be a great number. You can also give the gift of the War Report by hitting that gifted membership button. This is a great program YouTube has started. If you interact with our channel at a high level, but you haven't made the decision to become a member yet, you're likely to be on the receiving end of one of these gifted memberships. So check your email. Gifted memberships. Would love to see 25 of these given away tonight. This show is also brought to you by our friends at Los Amigos Mexican Restaurant. You can find them at 1220 Fox Front Ave, Suite 200 in Opelika, Alabama. Sweet eats for your Mexican flavor. If you're in the mood for some Mexican food in the Auburn, Opelika area, Los Amigos has you covered. Great place to watch the game. TVs everywhere. Los Amigos Mexican Restaurant. Also, our friends at Vintage. If you're in the fine dining kind of mood, Vintage 2298 has you covered. Visit them at 2298 East University Drive in Auburn, Alabama. And our friends at the Rogue Shop, longtime sponsors of the War Report. Go visit our guy Richard there at rogueshop.com. Use code REPORT to get 15% off your Rogue Shop order. Pain, sleep, stress, anxiety, whatever ails you in life, the Rogue Shop has something that has you covered.
Yes, indeed. We are live in here, Midweek Report style. And joining us is my guy, Philip Dukes, a.k.a. Dukes the Scoop. How you feeling, man? You feeling all right tonight, man? Is it y'all got snow over there in ATL too, right?
Yeah, we got snow yesterday, man. So now it's turning into ice. So my son gonna be out of school again tomorrow. We'll be up playing college football all night. So yeah, man, it's fun times over here, man. What's going on with y'all?
They're literally skiing in the streets of Atlanta. I don't know if you guys seen the videos, but I saw people snowboarding, skiing, doing all kinds of things, ice luging, crazy stuff going on up there.
I was scared we wasn't gonna get another snow day because how people clown last week, but now we right back at it. Atlanta really not a real place for sure.
Yeah, man. I was so happy we did not have a snow day again because I am not with it. If I wanted to live in the snow, I know places where it happens regularly enough for me to move there. I'm not trying to see it. If I can go to the snow, I don't need it to come to me. So I was not happy about it. Anyway, man, let's get into the conversation. We're going to start the conversation talking off. Well, first and foremost, for those that don't know, Auburn made a new hire for special teams coordinator, Chad Lunsford. Not familiar with him too much. I know he was previously on the staff, but he is back now as special teams coordinator. We'll try to dig into that a little bit more. Dukes, you know anything about Chad at all?
No, not a whole lot. Just know he's already familiar with the program, familiar with a lot of the people who make decisions there. So I think it was one of those things where somebody has some familiarity would help you kind of keep that, kind of knows what's required to be successful in Auburn. So I think that's kind of one of those familiarity type hires more so than going out and trying to find this Joe DeCamillis type special teams guru type guy. You know what I mean? So I think it'll be a serviceable hire as long as they have. I think your special teams are only good as your specialists. So I think
facts. That's super facts. So number one, find somebody who can catch the football on punts.
Right.
Number 2, stop holding on return so you don't start your drives inside the 10-yard line. Number 3, figure out who the kicker is and have a backup kicker so that they can actually be able to make field goals during the season. You can do those 3 things. I think you'll be all right as special teams coordinator.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, all the rest of that stuff is icing after that, right? Like if you can find a guy to make a 60-yarder or you can gotta get a guy who can hit a home run on a return and not like, okay, that's great. But hey, can we just field the stuff and make the stuff we're supposed to make? Like, and not shank punts. I forgot number 4. Don't shank the punt. All right, man. Anyway, so let's get into the conversation talking a little bit about quarterback, right? Because we know going into the spring, and we've talked about this a few times already, Auburn has 3 quarterbacks that are going to be scholarship live arms out there. But we know for sure that it is Jackson Arnold's job to lose. 247 just recently put out their list of top 10 quarterbacks projections for the 2025 season. And guess who showed up on the list at number 10? Jackson Arnold, of all people, number 10 on there. 3 SEC quarterbacks, if I'm not mistaken, are on this list. Let me go ahead and make sure I'm pulling this up and not lying to y'all. Garrett Nussmeier at number 2, Arch Manning at number 3, Lenore Sellers, he is on here at number 6, Diego Pavia at 9, Jackson Arnold at 10. So quite a few SEC quarterbacks popping up here in the top 10. But the question for us today is not whether or not Jackson Arnold deserves to be in somebody's top 10 projections. That's all speculative. The question is, if it goes wrong, how quickly are they pulling the hook on Jackson Arnold to pivot towards the heir apparent there? Deuce. How y'all feeling about it?
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, first of all, the situation this spring, Deuce Knight is the winner of this spring situation because you don't have to really fight anybody for reps this spring. Normally, you start with like 4 quarterbacks and they tell you, oh, we got to narrow it down to 2 people. We got to narrow our focus after a few practices. Well, you have to do that. It's going to be Jackson Arnold and Deuce Knight and this other dude running the scout team to make sure the defense gets some work. That's it. That's all you got this spring. So if you're Deuce Knight, boy, you won. You hit the lottery this spring coming to Auburn because you're going to get to work with the first team some in the spring. It's going to be great. He's going to learn. He's going to be able to develop some real chemistry with Cam Coleman and Perry Thompson. And I don't know. Is Singleton going to be here for the spring?
Yeah, he's already on campus.
Yeah. If he's going to be on campus, whew, boy, you hit the lottery if you're Deuce Knight. And if you're Jackson Arnold, same thing. I mean, you're the guy. That's it. This is not a quarterback competition. You're the guy going into game 1. And it's your job to lose. So, they've got to really focus, I think, on getting Deuce Knight ready for that break in case of emergency situation, which is either poor play or injury. And we all know all it takes is one bad hit and you need your backup. So will that be Deuce Knight? Look at what Florida did and how they ended up on Lagway. Right. So I don't know, man. I think Deuce coming in was a little bit of a project. But this is his chance, I think, to close that gap this spring without having to split a bunch of unnecessary reps under the guise of a QB competition.
Yeah, absolutely. Duke, I saw you, Dukes, you were talking a little bit about some of the stuff going into this spring, the player-led workouts and the early returns of information you were getting out about the 2 quarterbacks, like, hip people to what you got going on or what they have going on right now with the player-led situations with the quarterbacks.
Yeah, I mean, so right now you aren't able to get those football activities in right now as far as practices. So if the guys get together, it has to be led by the players. So while the players are getting together, they're running it like practices. They're running they're running pass concepts. They're putting defenses out there, so they're saying, okay, got guys running together. And the early returns is that Deuce Knight actually has a bigger arm than some people have expected. Some people, being some of the receivers that are catching the passes, like bro, I didn't know he's really got a cannon. Like, he could really throw it. And then the other thing is, I think they were surprised with how fast Jackson Arnold gets rid of the ball. Like, you could be looking up, it could be a slant. And by the time you see the shoulder, the ball's on you. And when they say see the shoulder, basically when you see that shoulder adjust to make the throw, excuse me, the ball's coming out. So I think him having that real pop, having some real juice when it comes to getting that ball out of his hand is something that the receivers are really excited about. And I think at this point, having a guy like Eric Singleton there, or having a guy like Malcolm Simmons, guys who have that 4.3 sub 4.3 speed, you want a guy who can make every throw. Because no matter what the defense is playing, they're in cover 3 running deep third. They're playing quarters. Even if they got a safety on top, the way that you beat those defenses deep is you literally have to be faster. You have to have a guy who can throw the ball far enough. And I think that's something that people didn't really get out of Jackson Arnold's game. When you look at the Oklahoma film, how many times did he really get to uncork it in the last couple of years? I mean, you really haven't gotten a chance to really see his arm strength. And the same thing with Deuce Knight. I think a lot of people saw him as more of an athlete than a quarterback, depending on who you ask. And I think for the early returns at Auburn, he's 1,000% a quarterback. And it's going to be somebody who progresses a lot faster than some people thought that he would. Like he got the project label to some people, right? It's like, okay, cool. Yeah. And that's what I heard too. Like, it's going to be a year or two for him. But I think, and this is, some people who are in the know feel like Deuce may be a little bit further along than people originally expected when he signed on the dotted line.
That's really good for Auburn. But one of the things, listen, you talked about it just now about Jackson Arnold's, like, how quick the ball gets out. I noted that watching his film and just seeing, like, when he makes up his mind that he's letting it go, it can get there in a hurry. And that's an adjustment from, no disrespect to him, but from a Peyton Thorne type of arm where, it'll get there, but it ain't getting there too quick. Jackson Arnold, he's going to be there in a hurry. So you got to be ready to, and so that might take some adjustment. So that's really important that they're out there getting those reps right now, because you need to be able to see that kind of speed, the velocity coming at you when you're coming out of your break. And if they can work out the timing, that can be super dangerous with a guy with that kind of arm. If it's getting there in a hurry and he's throwing with some anticipation out of those breaks, then that's defenses can't react that quickly. The best DBs in the world, good timing, anticipation, and an arm with some pop, it can beat just about any coverage that's going to be there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's interesting to hear Duke talk about him maybe being either less of a project than was being portrayed to us as media, because I mean, that was a prevailing narrative.
It was.
Deuce Knight is a project, right? And look, maybe he is, but maybe he's just smarter than people were giving him credit for, and he's picking it up and progressing faster than they thought. That happens as well too, right? Until you get a guy in your system, sometimes it's hard to gauge how quickly they will pick things up. You talk all the time about Freeze's system maybe not being the easiest system for QBs to pick up. And all we heard from Freeze last year was, well, we're dumbing it down. We're simplifying the offense. We're shrinking the packages to try to get it to a place where you can figure out what things you can do well. And if he can demonstrate he's got to live in the playbook, man, for the next 6 months. If you're Deuce Knight, live in the playbook, right? And he's got to develop elite study habits this spring, so that when it's time, you're doing the right thing. You hear Freeze talk all the time about, the biggest reason a lot of the young guys that we know have talent didn't play were missed assignments. Right. They go 100 miles per hour. They're just not doing the right thing. You can't afford that at quarterback. You can't be that dude at quarterback. You got to do the right thing 9.5 times out of 10 if you want to be the starter, especially if you want to be the starter as a true freshman. So I don't expect that that's where he's going to be, but I do think that it is a realistic goal to get him ready to be the guy by mid-season, no matter what reason you're going to him for, and whether he starts or not. If you feel good about him solidly as your QB2 by midseason, I think that will help erase some of this narrative that exists around the program currently about quarterback development and, the possible lack thereof that's been going on since Hugh Freeze got to Auburn.
Yeah, and I think one part of that too, like you talked about, Coach Freeze shrinking the playbook. And I think that's important too, because and a lot of times, sometimes the playbook is is kind of shrunken because of the limitations athletically, right? So there are certain things that certain people just can't do. And
Right.
I think the one thing that Deuce Knight has going for him is elite athleticism. So some of those runs, some of those route progressions are going to be there for a Deuce that may not have been there for somebody else. Because like, why are we even putting that in here? And we know that's not a throw that you're going to make. We know that you're not going to be able to get to the edge on this. So why do we even run? Why do we put this in here? But to that point, like you said, as far as being an elite student of the game at this point, I think you still shrink the playbook a little bit for Deuce, right? And I think you give it to him, you spoon and allow him to rely on his athleticism until he gets the maturity. Like, you got to think, last year was a senior quarterback who still didn't have the whole playbook. Like you said, to your point, that thing can get complex. So I think for Deuce Knight, the early returns on him are more so about, well, damn, he's a little more accurate than I thought he was going to be. Or, man, did you see him look that guy off? He didn't stay on the same read at the same time. So now you take what the players see, and we know players can be jaded at times, right? They say, oh man, this guy needs to be playing, but they're not looking at it from a coaching perspective or from a grading perspective. Whereas, how many missed assignments did you actually have? Not just did you beat your guy in one-on-one coverage. So with that being said, I think that Deuce, with a package as far as being able to run the base offense, his athleticism will make the base offense look like a full offense under the former quarterback, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Listen, because like you said, he has the ability and arm strength to be able to make some throws that the other guy could make, and he has a little bit more athleticism than the other guy, right? So if I can run. You saw that even a little bit with Walker White when he came in that very small sample size. Like, they were running more design quarterback runs for him in a different way than they would for Peyton Thorne, because Walker White's a bigger kid. He can do that stuff, right? You're not going to run that stuff with Peyton Thorne. There are quarterback design runs that you will give him, but I can't give you the full complement of these because I don't need you taking that kind of abuse. Deuce Knight's a bigger kid. He can take a little bit of that. I mean, even to a degree, Jackson Arnold's a little bit. He can do a little bit of that. And he, to your point, he can scoot a little bit more than, the athletic profile of both of these quarterbacks is very different from what a Peyton Thorne was. I think Peyton Thorne is a little bit more cerebral a quarterback, and he's gonna understand the ins and out of the plays and down to the fifth call on the sheet about what the audible is if they're doing. Like, he can understand all of that stuff, but like putting the athleticism with that, we haven't seen that in an Auburn quarterback yet. A guy who has it up here, but also has the ability physically to make all of that stuff happen on the field. That's going to be that next transition. And to the point Mike G is making about how do you develop a guy who has the physical tools to be able to do all of the stuff mentally that Peyton Thorne could do and put all of that stuff together. We haven't seen it yet, right? Hank, big arm, can't run. Holden Geriner, big arm, can't. So I can't give you everything. I can only give you this portion of the playbook. I can only call this stuff. Peyton Thorne, you don't really had a big arm, so I can only give you this portion of the playbook to be able to run this stuff. Now I think you've got two quarterbacks that can do all of that. So how much of that do I give you at a time to be able to go out there on the field and do?
I think that we're approaching the point in this conversation where we can no longer say blame the talent.
Oh, no, right? Talent excuses out the door.
Jackson Arnold is a former 5-star quarterback. Everybody he could have picked his choice. Now, you can say what you want about what happened at Oklahoma. System has a lot to do with everything. And I don't know, like with Venables taking over there, I think if Lincoln Riley is still the head coach and Jackson Arnold goes to Oklahoma, there's a different situation.
Yeah.
Right. Personally, that's just my personal feeling about it.
Wouldn't have any defense, but that offense would look amazing.
Yeah, it would look amazing. And then, Deuce Knight, one of the highest rated prospects in your program history. Now, we had this conversation a lot under the former head coach. A lot of highly rated classes, but not a ton of results or not the kind of results that you would expect based relative to the rankings.
Right.
So what are we left to believe? That all these kids were busts? No, you had a development issue. You had to. So I'm, fans are restless. They're frustrated. They're thinking, hey, nobody expected a championship last year, but I don't think anybody expected to miss a bowl game.
Right.
And to me,
Right.
that's about coaching. So, I'm not looking for Deuce or Jackson to save Auburn. What I'm looking for is this system to progress and for these guys to come in, comprehend what's going on, learn the playbook. And I thought Duke made a good point about elite athleticism, opening up your playbook and making a base offense look like a full offense.
Yeah.
If that's what you need at quarterback for your offense to look good, go get that dude every year.
Yeah.
Don't give me a game manager and then expect, you know what I mean? And then tell us every week that we're shrinking the playbook. No, go get Deuce Knight every year. Open the NIL bank and find one every year. If you need Cam Newton to make it work, go find Cam Newton every year.
Yeah.
That's my thought on it.
You hit the nail on the head. And I think when we talked about the previous classes that were highly ranked, I think the difference between now and those classes is you're getting those highly ranked guys now at positions of need. Back then, you would have 5-star. Like, look at how many DBs from Auburn are in the NFL versus how many offensive linemen.
Yeah,
right.
Facts.
Like you were landing. You get 5-star DBs. Oh man, that's great. You know, every now and then you get a guy like Owen Papo. You get a 5-star linebacker. You know, when you got the 5-star D lineman, what happened? Auburn was great. The only people that hold LSU under 25 points that year when you had a Derrick Brown and a Marlon Davis and a TD Moultrie. So, but at positions of offensive line, at quarterback, you weren't landing those 5 and those 4 and those high 4-star guys and those 5-star quarterbacks. It was either a transfer guy. You go all the way back to Nick Marshall. It was always been the transfer guy or Jarrett Stidham. Like you just go look at the list. Transfer. Like, you know, you're like there was never that highly ranked guy. We're talking like 95.
Which is why everybody was so excited about Bo Nix, right? Like everybody's like, "Oh, you finally got a 5-star QB in here out of high school." And I just think that they messed him up, man. Like they did not do Bo Nix any favors, dog.
Man, look, bro, did you see what Bo Nix just did this year? Like, dog, like. So to your point, Mike, that's when I started to question development. Like, look, bro, you had a 1st-round pick at quarterback who was a undrafted free agent under your regime. Like, that's bad. Yeah. Now,
that's bad.
The first, or why the hell would you run a 5-star off? Like a 5-star Auburn baby, super legacy, double, triple legacy, and you run them off. But those days are over with. So now Hugh Freeze has talent. They opened up the checkbook because Auburn's been super competitive in NIL. You got everything. So you got the players. So it's almost like you ever see somebody and they want to fight, but every condition has to be right. So it's like we at the basketball court. Man, you lucky I got to go pick up my daughter. Oh, man, you lucky I got to go do this. Oh, man, you lucky. All the excuses, the daughter being picked up, you feel what I'm saying? All the excuses are out the book. So now it's put up or shut up. And I think this is the year Auburn gets it done as far as at least getting over the hump and getting to that playoff conversation. If it doesn't happen, there's no way this regime can stay in Auburn. Not with all this talent. It's everywhere. Look at the receiver room.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I would say, Duke, that I cannot remember. Now, mind you, it's hard to compare across eras because of NIL. But I'll say it this way. In terms of the whole scope of college football, there are as many resources here being afforded to the head football coach as there are at almost any program in the country that's currently winning, right? There's NIL support. You have a $92 million facility that rivals some NFL training facilities, right? You've seen them, Duke. I know you've been inside them. I've been inside them.
Yeah.
Right. You have a whole compound for athletes there that is, if you haven't been in there, if you're listening to this, you haven't been in there, it's mind-blowing what they have available to them. They have every nutrition resource available to them, right? Like, I mean, there might be a whole vending machine just for Cam Coleman crustables. Like there are, that's not an exaggeration. Bro is always eating uncrustables. But you've got all these resources here, and you just got to do better than 5-7.
Yeah.
Right. You have to do better than 5-7. And if we live in a world where Arizona effing State can make the college football playoff, Auburn should at least be in the conversation, right? With these resources and the support that's going behind Freeze, right? Y'all didn't want Brian Harsin, and he's gone, and he wasn't ever going to get the support, right? And I don't know that he would have utilized it correctly, even if he did. But this coach was the one they wanted. And when I say they, I mean those with the money. Right? You gave him the cash. Like I said, we got to raise the floor for what Auburn should be accomplishing. Because I'm telling you, we just watched an 8 seed win the first 12-team college football playoff.
Yeah.
We just watched it. And I know it was Ohio State, but look at the teams that had a shot. Boise State, Arizona State made it. This is Auburn University.
SMU
made it. Come on, man. He's got to figure this out, right? And like I said, I understand. Think about what Bruce Pearl is doing. And so that we're clear, Auburn in basketball is near the bottom of the conference in terms of NIL commitment.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not getting a ton of NIL support on that side.
Yeah, Bruce Pearl talked about that. He was like, man,
Stephen Pearl talks about it too.
When they got ready to play Duke, he was like, man, there's guys on the Duke roster that wouldn't even look at Auburn, right? Like we're not even considering going there. Like y'all can hang it up. I'm not answering the phone. So they have to work that much more to try to find guys that have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder that conversely they wouldn't get a look from Duke, right? And so like you got to figure that out.
They can coach.
Yeah.
Auburn, Bruce Pearl can coach. He can develop. He can identify talent and say, you know what? I'm going to go get Chaney Johnson. Nobody else is looking at him, but I'm going to go get him. And now we're talking about this cat like he's in the discussion for most improved player in college basketball. Mm-hmm. Your ultimate sixth man. Honestly, he's starter in my book. But like, come on, man. You build a roster like that because you have an elite ability to be able to identify and develop. And when you put the resources behind a guy that can do that, you get a shot to win championships.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all we're asking for is show us here with Auburn football that you can identify and develop on a level that will put Auburn in the conversation. And if you can get there, sometimes it takes a little bit of luck to win championships.
Yeah.
It takes a little bit of luck. In that Iron Bowl, remember in 2010, some lucky shit had to happen in that Iron Bowl for Auburn to come back and win for 24 down. Right? Yeah, Nick Fairley punches the ball out on a strip sack, and the ball just falls just where he could crawl back and get it. That's punch crazy. Out from behind. Yeah. Come on, man. And it didn't go out somehow. Some lucky stuff has to happen for you sometimes. But if you can at least be in the conversation, in the position for luck to find you, and you have the talent, then you got a shot. So I don't know, Auburn not being in a position for luck to find them, at the end of the season is really frustrating, I think. And I'm not going to be one of them dudes that's like, I don't want to hear about how Jackson Arnold sucks or Deuce Knight is a bust. I'm like, it's just too much talent has come through here. If these guys, if it's not working, I'm going to be inclined to say that it's coaching.
Now, look, so this is one of those things where it don't even feel bad to say they got to win this year. How sometimes, you see coaches be like, man, I don't want to go out here and act like I'm calling for the guy's job, or I don't want to say this because, it is plain and clear. You got to win with this roster. Barring a season injury to multiple people in the first game, there's no way this Auburn team should not be a 9-win team. I mean, wake up
off of talent. Yes, absolutely. There's just you can't convince me that this collection of talent is not good enough to win 8-9 games. Yeah,
man. And last year, really and truly, it was a quarterback thing, and Coach Freeze had to eat it because they could have went and got a quarterback last year, and he had to eat that one. And you like, it was crazy because you look at, do you think that Auburn just went and just made like the NIL collective win and just got more money this year, or do you to get a quarterback, right, or do you think that it was like, nah, we shouldn't do that? It was the latter. It was not. We got a quarterback.
It was a decision that was made. Yes, correct. Yes.
We got what they say. We got McDonald's at home. That's right. We got Karen Ward at home. Yeah. No,
we got food in the fridge.
Exactly. Yeah. Go ahead about that. We gonna save that money.
Yeah. We got them leftovers. Go in there and heat that up.
Yeah, exactly. and we see what happened, right? And no disrespect to Peyton Thorne, but man, that was not a good season. They turned the ball over a ton. You never really felt like you had a quarterback in there, and you never had a true leader on the offensive side of the ball that could go and command what you needed to be commanded, that could raise the level of play across all 22. And you saw what happened. That was a 5-7 season, bro. You're going backwards. Like,
yeah,
hold up, bro. Like, and people been fired for less than Auburn, dog. Like, hey, man, like, bro, like, you got this. This is the year. But I think Coach Freeze locked in, man. I think he's gonna take this one personal, and I think if he don't, I think he'll say if he don't win this year, he's gonna be like, all right, what door? What door?
I ain't got it. Yeah, yeah. Like, give up the buy. If you don't win this year, just support. Like, don't make us fire you.
Yeah. Come on. Yeah.
Don't make us pay another buyout. Yeah.
You just come off the sticks. You know, you playing the game sometimes. You can wax. Like, hey, bro, come off the sticks, bro. Come on. All right, here, man. Just pass the sticks, bro. All right, cool.
Elite analogy there by
I think Freeze gonna ball this year, though, man. It's time. I think he's gonna ball.
Bro said, "Come off the sticks."
Yeah, I mean, listen, it will be time at this point in time, bro. Like, if you're losing that Tecmo Bowl with Bo Jackson, then you don't need to play. Like, that's just the bottom line, bro.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
Right.
You got the cheat code and you still losing. Like, just it's not. This ain't for you. This is not for you. So,
absolutely.
All right, man. Well, let's pivot here because we already talked a little bit about, the quarterbacks going into the spring, but we got a lot of potential guys that are going to be visiting campus this Saturday coming up, and I want to get into some of that for Junior Day. But you all are watching the Midweek Rapport. We'll be right back after this quick word from our sponsors.
This edition of the War Report is brought to you by our generous sponsors. The Opelika Rage Room in Opelika, Alabama. The Rage Room is a place where anger and stress find their ultimate release. Call or text 334-777-6688 to set up a session today, or check them out online at opelikaRageroom.com. Golden's Cast Iron. Whether you work out, grill out, or chill out, you deserve the best life possible, and Golden's Cast Iron is here to provide the tools to help you do it. Check them out at goldenscastiron.com.
Thank you to all the sponsors of the War Report. Thank you to those of you who continue to support us, like the Rage Room, who is a great sponsor of us. Make sure you check them out in Birmingham or in Opelika. If you are part of the Green Name Game, thank you so much. If you are not, then you missing stuff like film reviews, man. Your boy Ike Jones out here doing film reviews. You're wishing stuff like watch parties where we're watching games together online, and we're doing that again for the Tennessee game this weekend. So you got to be a member to lock in with that. If you are not a member, maybe someone will gift you a membership. You get a free month of membership on them. And then also make sure you are checking us out on podcasts. A lot of the great content we have on YouTube is also available on podcasts. Y'all make sure y'all lock in over there. But let's go ahead and get into the second portion of the conversation. Mike G had to step away. It's just my guy Dukes, Philip Dukes, to scoop in here, talking a little bit. Junior Day coming up this weekend, man, and a lot of prospective Auburn guys there. Auburn currently has 6 guys committed to the 2026 class. So Junior Day, for those of you who are not familiar, is for current juniors that will be rising seniors next year that could be potentially a part of that class. So they are hosting them on campus. A lot of them going to be making the trip over to watch the basketball game there inside of Neville Arena as Auburn takes on Tennessee. A lot of big name commits in here. Just read through a list here. And this is courtesy of Taylor Corn, who is out there. If you're not a part of some of these communities, the Barn, Auburn, is where she posted this. And I'm reading this from her notes here. Travis Burgess from Loganville, Georgia. I'm going to definitely want to get you to speak on these Georgia names that I'm throwing out here, Dukes. Emmanuel Ooh, I don't even know how to pronounce this man's last
Was
name,
it
and he's a
Iheanacho?
5-star. Yeah. Yeah. 5-star from Baltimore, Maryland. Number 2 nationally, offensive lineman. Zion Gillis, 4-star from Hemingway, South Carolina. JB Shabazz, 3-star from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Parker Pritchett, 3-star from Seal, Alabama. Sindarian Morgan, 4-star from Ben Russell, number 19 nationally. Tristan Keys, there's a new addition to that, the 5-star from Hattiesburg, Mississippi, number 7 wide receiver out there. Devin Carter, recent commit, 4-star from Douglasville. Denarius Graves, 4-star from Boynton Beach, Florida. Bubba Frazier, 3-star from Savannah, Georgia. Kentrell White, it's a big list. I didn't realize this list was this long. I'm going to just go to the 4 and 5 stars. Zion Ely, from St. Francis Academy. That's a Maryland guy. Trenton Henderson, 4-star from Pensacola. Braylon Womack, 4-star from Brandon, Mississippi, safety. Jira Edwards, 4-star from St. Francis Academy. Again, another Maryland guy. Listen, man, Coach Durkin in this Maryland connection is strong out here in these streets, bro. Tylen Wilson, 4-star from Pascagoula, Mississippi. The linebacker Shadarius Tootle, who is currently committed from Mobile. Jamichael Garrett, current commit. Anthony Davis from Loganville. Anyway, there's a big long list, man. If you're not on the Barn Auburn, you can't see that. I think there's some other people that have compiled lists. But talk to me a little bit about some of the guys that Auburn fans should potentially get excited about. Some guys that you know about that are good. I don't know if they're going to definitely be at Auburn, but there is definitely a lot of Georgia flavor in here.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, it's so many guys on this list that are highly rated. You got to be excited. It's the best. This is like a big cat weekend almost for Auburn. When you think about years previous, now we just talked about 3 years ago, Junior Day 2022. You had 12 players total, and only 10 rising juniors. And now this year you got 30, and we're talking about the cream of the crop. You got potentially 5 5-stars, depending on what ranking site you're on. 3 composite 5 stars. You got Zion Ely making the trip from and Emmanuel Iheanacho, 2 big time guys out of that Maryland area where DJ Durkin has been putting in work. And then you look at all of the guys who came down from St. Francis last year. Now you look at guys who are continuing to hear about Auburn. So I think that pipeline is going to be huge. Then you got like Alabama, man. You got guys like, and then you look at the receiving core. Like, how many more receivers do you want? Like, you got Tristan Keys, top tier, who's like who Auburn is a serious threat for. Then you also you compound that with a guy like Sindarian Morgan out of Ben Russell. Sindarian Morgan is a guy that I really want you to pay attention to. He's that big frame receiver, 6'5", about 200 pounds already. He looks the part. He's a guy who was a candidate to reclassify because of his physical profile. He could be playing college football today. And a lot of these guys on that list probably could, just to keep it a buck. This is a really, really high-level list. And when you look at just not the name recognition, but when you look at the proximity, you look at a guy, and okay, we'll talk about the quarterback out of Grayson, Travis Burgess. He's another guy, 6'5". He's almost like a Deuce Knight clone. 6'5", around 200 pounds. They just won a state championship. Quarterback for Tyler Atkinson, the number 1 linebacker in the country. I don't think he'll be here this week, but Auburn is they did an in-home visit with him recently. But this is one of those, it feels like this is Freeze's time. Right. So we talked about Freeze not being able to put it together all the way on the field yet. He ain't missed on recruiting. When you talk about being able to have a top 8 class, top 7, depending on who you ask, with a 5-7 record, I'm not sure there's another team in the top 20 with a losing record when it comes to recruiting. Like they're like those two things don't usually go well together. Losing season, no bowl game, top 10 recruiting class. Right now, by being able to put this many coals in the fire at this time, and you got some guys who are a little further out. You got Maryland, you got Mississippi, you got Florida. Another guy to look out for is Derek Cooper, who's probably, in my opinion, I think he's the best running back in the country. He's a high 4-star, but being coached by Worm, Sean Shivers, Auburn legend. That's who he's being coached by. His running backs coach at Chaminade Madonna. Shout out to Worm. But he's another guy where you look at who else is committed. Denarius Gray, who's a wide receiver who is now just shooting up the rankings. He has the potential to be a high 4-star / 5-star by the time it's done. So when you just look at the total amount of talent that's taking time out of their schedule this time of the year to make sure that they get to Auburn for this weekend, I think it just only speaks volumes to what Hugh Freeze and company have been doing on the recruiting front. And I think it's something to look forward to, especially if you can put it together on the field.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing for me that I think is still the biggest shock, right? We talked about this going into last year's recruiting cycle about like what did Auburn need to do to close in the top 5, and they didn't do what they needed to do on the field. Like we said, hey, 7-8 wins, I think you can get there. They end up with 5, but still a top 10 class with 5 wins. And so I think it speaks to being able to sell a vision and find young men who really want to help be responsible for turning and shifting the momentum in a different direction. But we'll ask the question again, like, how do you hold this together? Like, what you already said, hey man, if they ain't making a bowl game this year, then Hugh Freeze needs to just say, I'm done. Like, clearly I don't have it. Let me find somebody else who can get it done, whether that be fully relinquishing the duties of offensive coordinator and he just become a figurehead recruiting guy, or if he just truly needs to say, all right, look, man, y'all need a new head coach because clearly I can't handle it, right? Or I can't get it done. But what do you think needs to happen this year in order to keep these young men who made the commitment on the ship and continue this process of trying to build this pipeline? Where do they got to get to this year?
So let me make sure I understand correctly. You mean as far as
wins and losses? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. I mean, to me, like when you look at the talent, this is a 9. They finished 8th in recruiting. I think they finished 10th the year before, something like that. Mm-hmm. So if you look at the average of that, that's 9. I mean, that's 9 wins to me. You should be a top 15 team with multiple classes like that. Like, what are you doing? Like, a lot of those guys are still there on the team. You didn't even lose a ton, right? Like, you still got this talent. Like, the talent is there. You're stockpiling talent. Like, Perry Thompson, we didn't see a lot last year, and then you still go get, like, Eric Singleton and Horatio Fields.
Right.
Like, man, you just got talent all over the place. You look at the defensive line, you look at bringing in more edge rushers. The only place I feel like they should have brought more talent in was really in numbers was linebacker. Outside of that, and I'm sure they'll get a linebacker in the spring portal. But yeah, man, you got to win 9 games, man. Like you got to, though. Like, and you got to beat Georgia, Alabama. Like you like it's time. Like, so Alabama isn't the same Alabama, and they made us look like they were the same Alabama last year. So I think you got to get one of those games, and I think if you get one of those, you get another big one, then maybe you can suffice with 8 wins if you keep it close to your losses. But you should be 9 games. Like, I mean, when you look at it, first of all, the fans deserve it. When's the last time people have really been able to talk about Auburn's prospects in late November? The season has been done by October, probably the last 6 years? 6.
Something like that.
Yeah. Since Bo Nix was there.
Right.
Like, the season been done ever since then. So, I just think in order to keep all this together, like, it's a feel-good story. We're going to turn Auburn around. I think it's to the point where you don't have that 5'9" giant in Tuscaloosa anymore. So this is the time that you've got to make something happen where even almost organically kids in the state are just like, oh, that don't look the same. I'm gonna slide over here. Or man, they keep recruiting California. I'm right here. You know what? They must not think I'm good enough. I'm gonna slide over here. So you got the wave.
Right.
In the state of Alabama right now, the wave is off. Okay, cool. What are you going to do with that?
Right.
I think this is the time that you have to show and prove, like, okay, 9 wins it needs to be, and that's what it's going to take in order to keep everything together. But I'll say one thing that can help them recruiting-wise is, and if they can make a day of production, that will go a long way. A very spirited, you hope that the weather cooperates. It's either been cold or rainy like the last 2 times, if I ain't mistaken. But last few times. But if you can make a day of production this year, I think that'll go a long way to helping keep the momentum on the recruiting trail. But yeah, Auburn ain't had no problem recruiting lately. Like, they're doing a good job on that front.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you're 100% correct, I think, about kind of what this program needs to be able to give back to the fan base that has really been, I ain't gonna say surprisingly loyal, but like as much as you see a lot of venom online, folks are showing up to these games and they're cheering loud up until it looks out of hand. But like Auburn fans come into every season with a renewed optimism. This is gonna be the year where we turn the corner. This is gonna be year to year. And it just hasn't been that for like 7, 8 years, if we're being honest. You know what I'm saying? Where they have actually looked like a competent team that could go out here and do some stuff. This needs to be the year with the collection of talent that's out there, and that's going to start in this spring. But again, I'm sitting here dumbfounded looking at this junior day list and all of this talent that's showing up. Like, to close a recruiting class that you already had sold that vision to, okay, that was miraculous in and of itself. But even after that, you still got people who are like, let me go down here and see what Auburn talking about. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how they doing it. And everybody's gonna say, oh, they just paying people. Everybody paying people. Like let's dead they up the bag more. Because as much of a bag as Auburn has, they don't have Ohio State bread. They don't have Oregon bread, Texas A&M. They don't have that kind of bread like that. So we're not just out here seeing them overpay for people to get like, they're doing a really good job of recruiting people. Like, that's just the bottom line of it. Like, they found some kind of messaging that's working some kind of way. And yeah, people are getting paid too. That's the nature of where we are with the NIL situation.
I hate that fake morality, right? Like, oh yeah, like it was okay to pay. It's okay for your school to pay him, but they want to go somewhere else. He's just greedy. He's not worried about the money. Man, you led with the money. You want him to take your money. And then somebody chooses somebody else, and now they're like, we don't want those type of guys who just want the money anyway. Like, well, you shut up, like, man, chill. like there are players on Auburn's team, right, who get paid very handsomely and are probably overpaid. And there are players across the country like that. And there are some guys on Auburn's team who haven't been paid enough, and they're freshmen who are going to play this year, who didn't come into this big handsome NIL deal, and they just wanted to go to Auburn. And they're going to play their way into a large deal. And it's just the nature of the beast. Like Ohio State, okay, $20 million. All right, what did it get you? A national championship. So guess what? You got to get with it or figure it out. Like, now, I'm not saying that every team is going to have to spend that, but you have to be a player in order to compete. And I think you're seeing Auburn's willingness to compete help them land a top 8 class, right?
Right.
And Hugh Freeze, his willingness to recruit too. Like, Coach Freeze will get it, like, he get his hands dirty. He'll get in there. You had some coaches that take a CEO approach. Brian Harsin was a 1,000% CEO. He cared nothing. Like, hey, I got a staff for that, right? Cool. I ain't even trying. I'm only talking to the top 6 to 8 players in this class. The rest of them, you're on your own. Hugh Freeze gonna talk to every player in this class. How many times have you seen interviews from players and they say, Coach Freeze, Coach Freeze, Coach Freeze? He loves to recruit. He loves his job. And that's why I think that Auburn, I think he loves it enough that Auburn is going to do well. But like you said, the whole fake morality thing is so played out now because it's like, this is 2025. The game has changed. And it's no longer, you don't, like, why would you come to Auburn if you didn't go to Auburn or you don't have parents that go to Auburn or you didn't have, why would you choose Auburn and why would you take less money to go to Auburn over going to Ohio State?
Right.
Those are the players that you want, the 5 stars. If you're a 5-star and you know what the going rate is for a 5-star, why would you take less to go to Auburn unless you grew up an Auburn fan? It doesn't make logical sense. And I think sometimes fandom gets in the way of reality. But the good part about it is that isn't lost on their recruiting staff. And they recruit every kid with their life depends on it. And that's what you see the results coming in these top 10 classes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, hopefully it starts to translate over to the field because it'll feel like work in vain here in a little while with all of the talent that Auburn has at their disposal. But Junior Day's going to be upon us this weekend, and hopefully we'll get some good returns from that. We are going to go over here to this comment section to see what y'all are talking about. I got my guy, Philip Dukes, a.k.a. Dukes the Scoop in here. Start off with a big super chat here from Mama Tia, who says, keep grinding. Definitely will do that. Appreciate you jumping in here. Appreciate the super chat. D Lev jumps in and says Freeze might be reluctant to pull Jackson Arnold because of the money spent on him. I hope not. What do you think about that? You think the NIL coffers are going to have something to do with how quickly he's able to pivot off of Jackson Arnold?
Yeah, a little bit, but I just think I seriously think Deuce Knight got a pretty penny as well. So
Right.
I think that damn if you do, damn if you don't, right? So
Yeah, and go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, man, last year you could worry about who's gonna feel what kind of way about it. He can't afford to lose. So
Right.
if Bruce Knight gives him the opportunity to win, that's who I think 1,000%. All the politics and all the insurance and the money and all of that goes out the window this year. Whoever gives Coach Freeze the best chance to win, that's who's gonna play.
Yeah, I mean, that was going to be my comment is that, yes, Jackson Arnold got paid handsomely to make his decision to come to Auburn, but Deuce Knight got paid handsomely to come to Auburn as well. And so I don't know that the gap between those two is so significant that they can't say, hey, listen, bro, you ain't getting it done. And it's time to move on to somebody else or give somebody else a shot. And then we did see Coach Freeze go away from Peyton Thorne last year, right? Like he was willing to give somebody else an opportunity. Now it was a very short leash. And a lot of that had to do with just kind of a lack of confidence in their ability to go out there and handle business. And then they validated that by having the interceptions there early in the game versus Arkansas. But he's shown that he'll pull the strings. It's like, look, man, you're not getting it done, bro. Like that Cal game was just too much for him. He's like, bro, listen, a couple of these turnovers, we can't have this. A couple of these decisions, we can't have this. And you're too old for this. So, and you listen, man, you a dad, you already know. Look, man, look, some stuff you doing right now. I let you get away with that when you too old for this now. We're gonna have to grow up a little bit.
Man, 1,000%, man. If I see Cam, it could be a route he's running. If I see him round out that route like he did when he was 9 and he's 11, he didn't have a growth spurt. And I know, you know what I'm saying? I know he's capable. Like, hey, bro, like you can't play middle school football doing it. Like you just can't. So no, 1,000%. I get
that. Brad Browning says, when has Coach Hugh Freeze really been had really good QB talent? Bo Wallace and Chad Kelly were system guys. Malik was probably the best quarterback he had in his whole career. It's a fair point. There were no 5-star quarterbacks knocking down the door to go to Ole Miss when he was there. They definitely were not going to Liberty. And as talented as Peyton Thorne may have been, he was a 3-star coming out of high school. So was Hank Brown. Now, Holden, I think, was a 4-star, but he's not the 4-star athlete that these other young men that are in this room are. Walker White, a high 4-star athlete who never really saw the field at Auburn. So this will be his first opportunity to have this kind of talent at quarterback. And, it's one of them things where you can't listen, bro, you can't fumble this one. Like you can't fumble this one, my guy. You got all the stuff that you never had, go out here and show out a little bit. Now that you got all the tools, let me see you put something together.
Yeah. And I mean, even when he got Bo Wallace and Chad Kelly, like when they was ranked, they won like they was both ranked higher than Malik Willis.
Yeah.
Chad Kelly was like a borderline 5-star, if I ain't mistaken.
That's true. Chad Kelly was highly rated. He just had the whole situation that required him to kind of step back a little bit. So he kind of got lucky with Chad.
He was at Clemson, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, but I'll say this to his point, you never seen like Hugh Freeze was like just one of them Tebow West type, transcendent quarterbacks. And that some of that's on him, right? Like you got to be the one to go pick your guy. You feel me? So recruiting wise, as good as he recruits, like he is relentless. So, but I do think that evaluation wise, I think they went after, they made their decision. They saw enough out of Deuce Knight, and they decided to pull the trigger. And they went and got their guy. And I think it's one of the few times that is everything that you hear about and the rumors and all of that has actually worked for Auburn. So it does restore some faith and some confidence in the system and what's going on. Now, but to your point, now we got to see it on the field.
Yeah. Let's see here. Corey Weber says, if Deuce Knight shows out in the spring, what's the chance that he has a package every game in 2025? Deuce Knight package, huh?
Man, I would probably go about 40, 60. I just depending on like you don't like. Would you like to see him in some of those instead of Sam Jackson on the goal line, right?
Right.
Just to get him some
Right.
work, especially with him being the 2, right? Hopefully you get some games where you get some blowout games where you can get him some work. But I think in order just to get him familiar and get his feet wet as a freshman who may have to play, you would hate for his first game experience to come as a starter. So I think you do try to work him in. But I think if Jackson Arnold is playing as well as he should, I don't think you have to.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know, other than like his literal size, height, what he offers you that you can't do with Jackson Arnold out there on the field, right? Like Jackson Arnold has, again, you said this. I think he's faster than people realize that he is. Like, and so because he actually has like real game speed, like when he's out there, it ain't, oh, he's surprising. Like no, like he could really run. Like he could, you know what I'm saying? He ain't no track athlete or nothing. Like he ain't Michael Vick out there. But no, Jackson Arnold can run, bro. Like, and he's a little bit stronger than you probably would assume. So I don't know that there's a necessity. It's not like when you had Robbie Ashford there and you had Peyton Thorne, where it's like, it's clear Robbie Ashford's a different kind of athlete. Like Deuce Knight is a different build, but they're their athletic profiles are pretty similar as far as their ability to run, their arm strength. I think Deuce Knight probably has a bigger arm than Jackson Arnold does, but Jackson Arnold could spin it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, there are not too many things that, he can only do this. It's not even like a Lagway situation was last year with Florida, where it's like, yeah, your first guy is accurate. Graham Mertz is accurate, but like Lagway really has the deep ball and he really has the legs. So we're going to bring him in. So I don't know that there's going to be a package necessary to be able to do that sort of thing with him.
Yeah, I mean, you just got 2 5-star quarterbacks for the first time since I can remember.
Ever. Like, again, they were very big on trying to say this was the most highly rated quarterback room that Auburn's ever had. So you have the ability to turn the page if necessary, but I don't know about like a package for him. But, we'll see. We will definitely see. Braden Allen says, have y'all heard any about how Perry is doing so far in the player-led workouts? Feels like he could take a big step this season. Speaking of Perry Thompson.
Yeah, I didn't hear much about Perry. I heard he looks good, right? But as far as like body-wise, but he looked good last year. But I didn't hear anything that was like a pressing development about anything they've seen different in Perry. But that doesn't mean just because I didn't hear it, it ain't happening. So right. I do want to say that, like, just because, the guys that I talked to didn't say, oh, man, Perry been snapping, don't mean that he hasn't been. They were just adamant about the new guys. And that's why I asked. I asked about, how the new guys look, and they kind of gave me a new guy report. So but that 1,000% doesn't mean that Perry Thompson ain't handling business. And I'll do my best to get some information on that for sure.
Yeah. And just so like, we're not done with the show, but I do want to give you a chance to go. Since you're saying you give them the information, how do people need to make sure that they stay tapped in with what you got going on, Dukes?
Oh man, so if you're not watching this on my channel at Dukes D Scoop on YouTube, please go to the at Dukes D Scoop page on YouTube. You'll see in the profile picture or the thumbnail or whatever it is. What is it, the PFP?
Profile
what
picture.
Shows up? The profile picture. It's going to say D Scoop. Go look there, and then you'll see I'm starting the Auburn playlist. I got 2 shows in the bag already. You'll see a multitude. It's a lot of Colorado content, a lot of Auburn content will be coming. We're going to be expanding, and so I will be starting a show where I'm just talking sports as a whole, starting February 3rd. So I'm excited. It's an exciting time, and the channel is growing. I think we went from maybe like 1,600 to like 7,300 in like 6 weeks. So we're just excited about growth. And I say we, I'm talking about me and the fam, right?
Yeah,
I done got so used to corporate talk. Where it is. Nah, man, I'm excited, man. God excited, man. I'm happy. Y'all just come check it out, man. We'll have fun.
Nah, man, I'm happy for you, my boy. You know, we've been talking about this for a minute, and I've been telling you need to just go on, put it in your own hands and let it work, man. And I'm glad it's working for you, bro.
Nah, man, I couldn't be more happy, man. Thank you.
Uh, Derek McClellan says, Ike, enjoyed watch the film today. Are you on the same page as me in saying Arnold is more decisive than Thorne? Um, I don't know that he's more decisive. I just think that he can get away with being a little more hesitant because he has such a big arm, right? Like that window doesn't close as quickly for Jackson Arnold as it does for Peyton Thorne. So if he's late to get to a receiver that's already out of his break, once he makes up his mind to throw it, it's going to get there. I think he could definitely work on his anticipation of some stuff and understanding where he wants to go with the football pre-snap and then getting off of it if that's not the right decision to get somewhere else. He can work on some of that stuff. But people got to remember, last year was essentially his freshman season, right? Like he was a redshirt freshman last year. He was a first-year starter last year. He was going to make freshman mistakes. And so hopefully this year, as he gets some more familiarity with not only the receivers that he's throwing to, but the system that he's running, he'll be able to get to some of those decisions because the game speed isn't going to get any faster this year. He was in the SEC last year. It wasn't like he's got to go from seeing Big 12 defenses to SEC defenses. He's going to see SEC defenses again. So now it's about learning systems, learning the guys who he's throwing to, and making those decisions quickly enough to be able to take advantage of that God-given ability he has. Anthony Rudd says, Dukes, how you feeling about the DB class we got this past year? Fagans is the man. Antoine, they said he was, listen, one of my favorite players from this last class was Caleb Harris. And that was his guy that he was in high school with. And I think, Auburn, like the DBs were no slouches last year, but like that room is crazy. But this question is for you specifically. How you feel about those guys? Eric Winters, Antoine Fagans, like the list goes on. Blake Woodby, like you just rattle off names in that class. How you feeling about it?
Yeah, man. I think this year is on that side, that ball like you get it, Anquan Fagans. I think Blake Woodby gonna surprise a lot of people. Like Woodby a baller. Like I really like what they did, and they're gonna get a chance to develop because you got some corners that can play already. Safety wise, I think you're gonna see Fagans in the mix. I think now if Charles Kelly was here, I would 1000% say that. Like he loved Fagans, right? Very familiar with that family. But I think Coach Rushing, I think somebody with that NFL pedigree who understands explosion, understands being how athleticism is going to help you at that position. I think he's going to play the best athletes who don't make mistakes. And I think Fagans, as long as he can pick up the playbook, he's somebody who can play early, like Woodby. I think Eric Winters is going to be like a utility player, more so like a Swiss Army knife. I think you can see him help in some run support. I think he just has that size already where you can see him play more of a box safety role. So I think when you're able to nail down guys who have positional versatility and put them in their best position to help the team, I think that's when you know true depth. When you have guys that can move around. And you look at that DB room, when you look at a guy like Champ Anthony coming back, who came from Miami, Ohio, what's Rayon Strader, if I'm not mistaken?
Yep.
Yeah, man, Strader. Now, that's somebody I didn't talk about, but I heard really good stuff about Strader and how excited they are about this guy. Where you could have a log jam at corner this year when you bring in a guy who's talented as that. You think about Jay Crawford, Ken Lee, Strader, Champ Anthony, Sylvester Smith, Caleb Harris. You think about all these guys, and then you bring in another influx of talent like you just did in that secondary. I think if between the secondary and the wide receiver room, those are probably the two strongest rooms on the team. Wide receiver and DB, and I would probably give the edge to DB based on. No, I forgot about Eric Singleton. Jeez.
Yeah, that wide receiver room is crazy. I think that's a worthy just whole other topic of like what is the most talented room in Auburn going into this year, and that's a crazy conversation to have considering. Again, you just came from a 5-win season and you maintained and added so much talent. It's kind of baffling to think about, and I promise you, man, if we're sitting here next December December 2025, if we're not sitting here talking about a bowl game and Auburn, then I don't know, man. I might cuss a lot. I might do a lot of cussing on this live stream, bro, because like that's crazy. Like, what are we doing out here?
We're gonna have to put it behind the paywall.
Something. We're gonna have to do something, bro, because they gonna demonetize your boy real fast. Last one we're gonna get out of here. AJD says favorite portal edition. Who's your favorite guy that Auburn added from the transfer portal?
Yeah, I'm gonna go home team Eric Singleton. Just pure speed you can't teach. Just pure speed. He's top 3 in the history of the state of Georgia. Everybody who's been fast in the state of Georgia, he's top 3. Like in the books. Like I think he only person faster than him is Maurice Gleaton, who parlayed from the franchise boy's son, who ran a 10-1-4, who has the state all-time record. And one other guy, and then it's like Eric Singleton, but Tyreek Hill speed. Like Tyreek Hill is like 4th, Eric Singleton is 3rd. Or they're right there flip-flop together. But when you just talk about having that type of speed, it's just like, man, you got speed, you got a guy who can throw it. What type of challenges could that present for a defense? And a guy who's just not and the great thing about Singleton is he's not a track runner playing football. He's a football player that can run track. If he ran track, he probably could go sub 10 if he just was like, all right, I'm a track runner. That's what I want to do. He has that type of natural ability when it comes to running. So I think E. Singleton is somebody that I'm super excited, and I believe they're going to get him the ball in a multitude of ways.
Yeah, that's when I was doing a little bit of the film breakdown on him, people were talking about comparing him to Keandre Lambert-Smith. I was like, nah, this is more Malcolm Simmons. Like, you got to think about, like, they're going to try to throw him little screens. They're going to try to bring him, on the jet motions. They're going to do a lot of things to try to just put the ball in his hands and let that speed take over. And, that's one thing that you can't coach, right? Like, you can coach a lot of stuff. You can't coach speed, bro. If you just fast, like, you can do a lot of stuff to try to get you, get out of your breaks faster. You can do stuff to help yourself at the catch point. You can work on your releases. Can't coach speed, bro. Like, it's just, I mean, you can't teach speed. Speed is just something that you have. And like, I don't care how many drills you go to and how many camps, and like we can get your 40 time down. They can help you with your technique to not look sloppy while you're running, no wasted motion. But if you fast, bro, you just fast. And he has that in spades. And I think him on the field with guys like Malcolm Simmons, like, I just imagine with me for a moment a 4-wide set with Eric Singleton and Malcolm Simmons on the field at the same time. And you got Cam Coleman and Perry Thompson or Horatio Fields, whoever you want to put out there as your outside receivers. That is safety hell. You are in hell as a safety out there, because it's like, bro, somebody's got to get solo covered, and you got 2 live arms out there, whether it's going to be Jackson Arnold or Deuce Knight, who can legitimately hit you over the top for 60. That's a lot to deal with as a secondary, man. And you don't need a whole lot of time for a guy with that kind of speed to get down the field. So once I get to the back of that 3, maybe 5-step drop, and I let it rip, he's down there already. So, listen, man, like I said, it's too much talent. You can't waste this. I'm going to be mad. I'm going to be on here cussing for sure if we in December and we're not talking about bowl game situations. Really in November, if we're not sitting here still trying to think of scenarios how Auburn can make the playoff, I'm going to be mad. I ain't going to hold you. Like, it's too much talent out here on this field. All right. We are going to get out of here. Once again, I got to thank my guy, Phillip Dukes, for joining me tonight, man. Appreciate you giving us some of your time. One more time, in case they missed it, plug the channels, Twitter, all that, Instagram. How can they make sure they get the scoop?
Yeah, follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Dukes the Scoop, DUKESTHE SCOOP. And please go to my YouTube page at Dukes the Scoop on YouTube and like and subscribe, turn notifications on. It's going to be something for everybody for sure.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. One more shout out to the folks that help make us who we are paying the bills. Vintage 2298 doing their thing. Los Amigos Mexican restaurant. If you are going to be down there in Auburn, you don't have a place to go watch the game, you didn't get tickets, it's cold out there, man, y'all can go hit up the Los Amigos, get a little Mexican food. They got TVs all over the place. They will definitely be playing the game. Make sure y'all tap in with them. If you are going to be sitting there sweating bullets and got a bunch of anxiety about Auburn basketball, make sure you hit up our folks over at the Rogue Shop. Code Rapport gets you 15% off at America's #1 online dispensary. Before y'all get out of here, make sure that you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you're following us on social media. We are at the War Rapport, TW Report on TikTok. We're out of here until the next time, and as always, War Eagle.